Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Veronica Elizabeth, and today I will be discussing the details and the trials and tribulations of my most recent painting. I named her Entropy because she caused me a lot of chaos and confusion. She is behind me. And I will have some B-roll to show you the details up close as I discuss. Where should I start? Well, let's start the day I made her. I don't have the exact date, but I know that I started around mid-December, and it is now the second week of January. This is definitely the longest painting I have ever took to complete, and that's because I mostly work with acrylic, and as we know, they dry super quickly and oil takes a little bit more time to dry, and that taught me a lesson because with acrylics, I'm so quick to have the concept in my mind and just go straight into it and sort of complete the painting in a few hours. Whereas with this painting, it it was taking me days and days, and I was like, well, why is this taking so long? Oh, but I digress. I love the way she came out. I first want to start by discussing her skin. I had so much fun playing around with the skin because I was able to blend different colors that I wasn't able to with acrylics. And of course, you can kind of produce similar colors with acrylics versus oils. However, with the oil paint, there's a certain blend that happens. It's easier to blend the oil paint. This is a larger canvas for me. I'm used to working with something a little bit smaller. I the dimensions are escaping me at this moment, but I am used to working with something a little bit smaller. I did work on a canvas of the same size. The painting was entitled The Herald, and I also ran into a similar issue where the proportions were kind of off. And I know that I make my figures with very long necks. I like my necks to look like pedestals, as a friend told me. But I think there's a certain grace and balance that comes with that. From the head to the body, there needs to be some proportion control. And with the Herald, I sort of got lost in that, and I had to go back in and fix my mistake later on off camera. And the same thing sort of happened here. I kind of put a crank in her neck, and I had to go back in through the background and fix that crank and kind of smooth out her neck so that it blends well into her body. Jumping back up to her face, I have to say out of all my paintings, she probably looks the most like me because I was really studying my face when I was working on the shading. I also want to make note that this may be my first painting where, on canvas, where I place two eyebrows. And I know that's like so small and probably like, oh, that's such a small detail, but it's a huge detail to me because I really do love focusing on one side of the face. Outside of the lips, I do love to shade one side of the face and leave the other side just blank. But this one I really wanted to try something new and study shading and working around with those different colors, skin tones. How is the light hitting her? How's the shadows resting? So that was interesting for me. That was another lesson learned. And I really love how she came out. I don't know if I'll go back to the one side of the face or if I'll continue working on both sides of the face. That's for time to tell. But for here, I really loved working with the oil paint and trying something new. As you can probably tell now, the background is way different from before. Before, I was working with a terracotta orangey color, and I love the color orange. Orange is one of my favorite colors. I believe it's very sophisticated and warm. But that was not what I was going for at all. I loved experimenting with it, and I loved using it, and I loved how it looked on the canvas, but I did not love how it looked behind my figure. I was in the headspace of quarantine. That's how most of my paintings run, with the theme of quarantine and being alone. Even though I was with family throughout quarantine and even now, I still felt very alone and still do feel very alone, as I don't receive much interaction with other people. Now, I love being on my own, don't get me wrong, but I love being on my own when it's a choice. When it's forced upon me, it's different. So my work is an exploration into that feeling, that emotion, and also just a general sadness that can come with being a Black woman, and resting in those feelings. Oftentimes we're depicted in media, across the board in media, as strong and vigilant and self-sacrificing and for everyone else but us. And I wanted to give space and breathe life into the emotions of sadness. You don't see Black women being depicted as sad. You see Black women being depicted as angry or over-sexualized, hypersexual, or happy, extremely happy and jovial. And that's not how we feel all the time. So I really wanted to honor that feeling and emotion through my work, because that's how I was feeling. And I feel like it's an honest portrayal of Black womanhood, or at least a fraction of it. All that to say, the blue-green definitely represents that feeling and emotion more than the terracotta orange. So I just did a complete overhaul and changed the whole thing. What I really love about oil paint is that I can take my time to change the colors. With acrylic paint, it dries so fast that you need to make your decision and make it fast. But with oil paint, I can really think about it and contemplate and explore my emotions and see how that manifests in the colors that I choose and what I'm going to put on the canvas. It gives you way more time to make your decision, and your decision never has to be final. And if you can see in the bottom right corner, I did add a dying plant. It is specifically an anthurium leaf, and I think I'm going to be using this plant often in my work because I kind of have some sort of connection towards them. I really gravitate towards them as a motif. I think they're beautiful in general. So you're going to be seeing them in my work a lot more. I specifically made it a dying plant to pay respect to the plants that I killed throughout quarantine. And I don't mean to laugh. I am very sad. I just let them sort of dry out because I wasn't really in the headspace to take care of something else. I was barely taking care of myself. So this is my way to let them know that they're my thoughts and I didn't mean it. I do love plants. Don't label me as a plant killer. But things happen. And I wanted to also paint them in the shadowy corner because my figure is moving towards the light. She's facing the light. Her body's facing the light. She's looking at us, but she wants to move on, and she wants to move into the new year as a better person, a reformed person, someone who's learning new things, someone who's ready to embrace new things and leave the old dead things behind. So those are my thoughts, some of the things I learned, some of the things that came up for me while I was completing this painting. I hope that this inspires you not to beat yourself up too much when you make a mistake or things don't exactly go as planned for you when you're painting, because just go with the flow. I mean, it's going to reveal itself to you. You're not going to force whatever you want onto the canvas. It'll come to you. It'll come. So those are my thoughts on the process of this painting. She is Entropy. She is up on my website if you want to look at her in all of her glory. And even though this painting was difficult for me to create because it took so long and the background wasn't working out and all the other little details, and it's still drying as I'm speaking, I still would not have changed anything about this process because I learned so much about oil paints and how it works, how it functions, how it moves on the canvas. And I learned a little bit more about myself. So I hope this helps anyone out there who's watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.